Yo, you listening? Are you tired of the same clout-chasing gatekeepers, the same sports media, podcasts, and radio with recycled takes and no context?
That's where Touchdowns and Tangents comes in. See, we're different. We give you culturally concise commentary, context for the culture, in-depth NFL analysis. So get ready and prepare yourself for the tangents. Listen in.
What's good, everybody? Kenneth Barrett here. Sorry about the technical difficulties. You know, sometimes you have to restart the computer like 4 or 5 times, but it's all good. Glad that I'm here with y'all. Because, I mean, otherwise, I just... Like, that's where I would have been at with it. But Pete and I were like, no, we got to do this. Because, honestly, free agency's been crazy. Yes, there was if you didn't know, there's pretty much a midnight curfew in the state of California everywhere. So keep that in mind. And because of the whole, everything going over the coronavirus, COVID-19 specifically, the strand, it's affected the NFL in terms of how they report news. So when they report news and say, well, such and such got traded here, such and such signed with this team, technically it's not official because that's illegal on the team's part because there's no way to actually get physicals done or anything like that. So nothing's actually legit. So pretty much NFL Network reports stuff and the teams say, well, via NFL source or in regards to reporting from NFL Network, we've traded such and such or signed such and such. But we backtrack, man. This is Touchdowns and Tangents. So I want to say shout out to our affiliates, Good News Radio, X Squad affiliates, full press coverage. We love all y'all. And every guest we've ever had, we thank you for coming on. You've played an integral part in the show. Oh, what do you know? Have somebody on the phone. Hello, caller. What's your name and where you calling from?
This is Pete D. Camarillo calling live from the quarantine, rah-rahing like a dozen dragons. I'm here and live in full effect.
Cool. Mansplaining and mouth breathing. You know, it's all good. I mean, I just want to point out something. You called me Uncle Barry over the phone, and I just want to say, fuck you for that. Don't call me Uncle Barry. How dare you?
Bro, it's not my fault. You literally can't find your way around a selfie or a electrical cord.
That's literally false. But okay, and it wasn't even the modem. I just had to restart it a couple times. So relax. I didn't have to unplug anything like you wanted me to. Totally unnecessary. But anyway, man, enough of all that quarantine.
If you would have listened to me, that's actually what they advise you to do at AT&T and Spectrum. But, you know, I just talk out of my ass and don't know what I'm saying. So fuck me and don't listen to me. Well, you're right.
Technically, what you did was kind of overkill because I fixed it before you even said that. I was just waiting for it to reload.
Okay, so then why did you restart it again a second time? And why are you still 15 minutes late? Anyway,
you know,
yeah,
that's
if
another.
that was a solution, you should have been on air in 5 minutes.
I restarted it like 10 times. Connection kept going out.
Bro,
it happens.
We could take a survey, bro. We could take a survey of literally everybody you know and ask them to grade you on a 1 through 10 scale, your technological skills, and I guarantee you get a consensus 3.
False, and I'm pretty sure you'd have to ask more than just Andrew.
Bro, have you seen how you type?
Wow.
Bro, you type like your fingers are allergic to the keyboard.
That's disrespectful. It's not true, though.
Bro, I've seen
only
white
when I'm typing
JV football players lift their head up when they're tackling more than you do when you're typing.
Wow. You're digging deep for the jokes, aren't you? That's cool.
I've seen 5'8" rec league centers look up at the basketball more when they're dribbling than when you type.
Well, get your shit off. Get it off, because this is the only time you'll be funny. Like, go ahead. This is the only time you're funny. Keep going. I know you got more. Keep going.
Nah, it's cool. I'll keep the Hunchback of Notre Dame jokes in the bag for future notice.
I mean, we may never hear them again, so you never know. This may be the last broadcast. Who knows? Just get your jokes out now, because that's all you have.
But nah, I mean, there's plenty of jokes to get off about this whole free agency period that just happened this past week.
Yeah, pretty much, the NFL using NFL Network as like their stool pigeon to circumvent law and, agreements and contracts to say, oh yeah, so we traded this person. We signed this person. But it's technically not legally official yet because of all that red tape. That's why so many agents are pissed off right now.
Well, I mean, people can't officially be signed until, they can take physicals. There's all sorts of clauses around if a player tests positive for coronavirus or gets sick from coronavirus,
they lose like $10 million.
Potentially void their contract.
Which
entirely.
Is kind of par for the course in America. Oh, possibly world-ending, virus, not a world-ending thing, pandemic starts. Oh, and if you have it, we're voiding your contract. But it didn't exist before this signing period. Well, if you have it, you're null and void. I mean, that seems kind of unfair and feels like there's a lawsuit for that. But you look at guys like Cam Newton and anybody who's had surgery. So essentially, it's like, so none of these trades and signings really matter.
Well,
they matter.
It does to an extent because, one, it's the only thing really happening in sports, period, outside of, occasional UFC here and there. But really, it's the only thing going on right now. So it matters for that perspective. And two, I mean, in theory, you get these guys signed on and, they can at least start integrating into the team virtually, getting in the group chats, getting the DMs, connecting with their fellow teammates. So in theory, it's not nothing, but
they're probably already in the group chats, though.
It's not really official until. But I mean, if you really want to get into the shits, I mean, we might never ever have any sports again or professional sports with an audience again. So who knows? Like, that's why you can't really speculate one way or the other. Like, you can't just go business as usual, but you also can't just not have these provisions either, because I mean, the reality is we might not have any sports. Like, period.
Yeah, and if they're saying, if there's multiple reports that have come out and said that, like, I don't know how true it is, but there's so many different things that come out. Like, one thing I heard, and I don't know if this is true or not, so don't take too much stock into it, but there's a report saying that, 56% of Californians will get the virus, like, in the next 8 weeks. But most people who've gotten the virus have already, like, beat it. So it's kind of like,
well,
if you've already...
Based off of what I read, and I said this weeks ago, the World Health Foundation or organization anticipated over 70% of the population getting this. So I think California is, they estimated like 22 million, which is probably the 56% that you're referring to, is like that's low, one. And two, the other thing I was reading is they really don't know because the disease is transmitted in so many different ways and it takes shape and form in so many ways. So, like, they can't really accurately predict it because they don't know how fast it's going to multiply or as big as it goes. Like, it's really an unprecedented thing. So that's why they're just being careful, because the reality, the other side of the coin is, either way, like, even if you cut that 22 million in half, like 11 million, like, our hospitals and ERs and ICUs are already full and going through their own shit. So you want to throw another 11 million people, even if it is just overnight or a week stay of just, watching them? Like, even if they don't need anything, like, them just being there is taking the bet away from somebody who does need it, and also putting those other people in the hospital in jeopardy because it is a really virally transmitted disease. So there's just a lot of layers to it, and that's why you're seeing all these precautions across society.
And it's kind of bogus that they would put that in the contracts because, it could be like the Walking Dead virus where we all technically are infected. It just takes something in nature to trigger it inside you, and you either beat it or you don't. Like, it's just kind of ridiculous in the fact that they've already canceled pretty much everything, like college graduations, high school graduations, all across the board. This, like, disrupts the whole process. Like, let's say you were, trying to get a scholarship offer at the last minute. Like, how can a college offer you as an athlete a scholarship right now? How can a school offer you a scholarship, even if it's academic? Like, everything is pretty much shut down. Like, my sister, she has online classes, but...
they're still going to have school. They're going to have online classes, so I don't think school's going to go away forever.
Yeah, the Seminole Valley School District's pretty prepared. But that's the thing, like, no graduation ceremonies. Like, here's the thing, man. Here's the thing, period. Like even when this whole thing unfolded and they were talking about, this whole thing is just kind of like a reason to take access away from reporters. And it's like, yeah, that is a symptom of it. But the reality is, across society, our entire society is going to change after this. Like, it's never going to be the same. So, like, you can bitch if you're an athlete, you can bitch about it all you want. Like, we can talk about it and bitch for them, but the reality of the situation is that is what it is. Like, these stipulations are going to be put into the contract because we don't know if there's going to be a fucking season. Like, that's it. Like, that's all that is. So we can look at it and say, it shouldn't be happening, but the reality is we don't know if there's going to be any fucking games played. So, and besides, either way you look at it, NFL contracts are pretty much 2 years, and we'll see what happens after that sort of deal anyways, which, Todd Gurley is a perfect example of that, but we can get into that later. Yeah, also Sean Payton, because he's the first known and only, like, professional head coach, at least in America, to come out and have the coronavirus. And Michael Thomas tweeted out earlier, said Sean literally shut the whole city down. Now, I ask you, is the same... I
wonder where he got it from. He probably got it from a cruise or something.
Well, he apparently wasn't feeling good. Reports are saying he wasn't feeling good a couple days ago, but he was also at a horse race when he wasn't feeling good. He wasn't feeling good, went to the horse race, got tested, a couple days later, and now he has it. But, it mostly affects older people and people with compromised immune systems.
Yeah.
So my question is, if these contracts are going to be in place for the players, and they ratified the CBA last week, or you technically like the beginning of this week, the CBA is in place, but at the same time, well, now do you have to go back to the drawing board and say, well, we weren't expecting this global pandemic to happen, so now this has to be put in coaches' contracts just like it has to be put in players' contracts. Would it not? Wouldn't Payton have to pretty much be quarantined from the... Let's say if NFL started back up on time, wouldn't he have to be quarantined from the team? Like, wouldn't his whole...
Who?
Sean Payton.
Oh, you're talking about Sean Payton?
Like, wouldn't that whole situation...
No, because these aren't every contract. These are just new contracts that are being signed during this weird, unprecedented quarantine time where people can't travel to their facilities and get a physical.
That's my point. He's grandfathered in because he has his contract already. He's a head coach, but he has the coronavirus, and he was in the office as of last week. So it's kind of like,
okay,
going forward, let's say a coach an assistant coach finds out, or he gets promoted, gets a job, find out